Second, and I think this is something that you and I have kind of talked about on and off over the months, is kind of like, what is the future of video gaming as a medium,
Mm.
and specifically, physical media? So we'll start with the first of those points. You sent me two articles that I thought were
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
they were interesting in how
yeah,
contradictory they were.
yeah.
So one of them basically said, "Hey, 2023 was this hallmark year for gaming. There were 3.38 billion people worldwide who were gamers. And as a global market, the experts are predicting that there will be $187.7 billion in revenue in the gaming industry in 2024."
Mhm.
The second one that you sent was just kind of a look at the US games industry. And it basically said that the US industry was looking at a 7% year over year decrease in video game sales compared to 2002.
Yep.
So it just kind of, we were asking ourselves the question, like, are video games becoming more popular? Have they peaked in popularity? Like, where is just the market for gaming
Mhm.
going? So what's your sense of that?
Well, I sent you those articles because I was curious. I was just kind of sitting down on the couch just in my study, and it's weird. I had video games, right next to me, but I was bored, but I didn't want to play. And I just had this weird thought. Um, you know, I wonder if video games are somewhat dying. And the reason why I had that thought also was because I'm noticing this weird influx of young kids on YouTube making videos about how modern gaming is this and modern gaming is that. We're tired of this. I've heard stories about how it used to be back then, and you keep the thing is that when you hear multiple kids not in your age bracket talking about the same exact thing, then you kind of have to wonder. And the first thing that popped into my head listening to all these kids make these videos was, I wonder if video games are going to be the old adult hobby that kids that grow up are going to be like, ill, please, no, I don't want to do that. Kind of like coin collecting. Like, I know, like, for a lot of older people, coin collecting is like the best thing in the world. And for me and my friends growing up, coin collecting is farthest away from our minds. And I'm wondering if that same exact thing is happening to kids today, because it can be a number of different things, right? Like, um, predatory practices. Every time they get a game, it doesn't work. Games get hacked. Then you have the whole thing with Ubisoft talking about you'd be happy without owning anything, and I'm wondering if some of these kids want to own things. I don't know, but it there was all these different fundamental things that were popping off in my head, and the one thing that kept going off was, I wonder if video games are going to be the old man hobby.
It's hard to think of it that way, because it's funny you mentioned coin collecting. My father was an avid coin collector, and I would go with him to the coin collecting conventions, and I just had that sensation. I'm like, man, these people are old. These people are weird. I'm not one of these guys.
Right.
And then, as an adult, I've gone to a video game convention, and sadly, the product is different, but the demographic may not be that far off.
Hmm.
Yeah, I am not sure. Video games is the old man's hobby. I mean, my sense of it was, and of course, it's hard to generalize like from young people that or that you might be watching on YouTube, but I always felt like for this generation, let's say if you're a teenager today, that video gaming is part of like the fabric of the online social networking world that you're in. Like, you'll be playing Fortnite, and you'll watch a stream of somebody playing Fortnite on Twitch, and You might, I don't know, go on and make a TikTok of yourself. Now I'm sounding very old because obviously I don't do these things, but there's some TikTok content on
Right,
Fortnite that you're going to consume, and it's not one specific unique hobby. It's just part of that world that you're inhabiting.
right,
And as such, you're not going to be necessarily devoting all of your time and all of your resources into buying video games in the same way that we did when we were teenagers.
right. And
Because
that and that's another thing that I'm talking about too, is that a lot of these kids, they don't play video games. They much rather watch other people play video games, like their favorite streamer.
yeah, I mean that's the the other aspect of it too, right? You're still engaging with the game, but you're not playing with it, and then I guess your money is going to supporting the streamer,
Hmm.
rather than the game. I do like the people I know who do play video games. It's never the talk is never of gaming. It's always about the one or two games that you're into, whether it's FIFA, whether it's 2K basketball. Obviously, I just said Fortnite, Call of Duty. Like the game has become a platform, and that platform takes up so much of your time that there really is no other thing that you're doing. Like the kids who want a PlayStation 5, well, they want it because that's where they're going to play with their friends on the new Call of Duty.
Right, right.
Although those companies are very profitable, so maybe gaming as a discrete hobby is dying, but the profits are still going to be high. I'm not sure.
I it's really weird because when I found when I looked up those two articles, um, and you were right, they're both contradicting one another. And I can see how it depends on where you're looking, right? So if you look at physical game media, I'm pretty sure physical game media has gone down a ton.
Almost
Um,
certainly, yeah.
but if you compare that to Steam or GOG, I mean, profits are up. Kids are playing um, kids are playing more games on those consoles, and that's another thing is that I also noticed that a lot of kids don't even want consoles anymore. They more or less want PCs. They want a game on PCs because it gives you more. It gives you more. I'm doing air quotes right now. Freedom to do certain things that you want to do.
Interesting. Now that I would not have guessed because I always assume that the price of PC gaming is just so high, to get into it. I mean, even if you're buying like an off the shelf, like Costco quote unquote gaming PC, it's still going to be like $1,000 at least. Whereas you can get into the PlayStation 5. What is it, like $500?
The
So
PlayStation 5 is 500. Yeah.
yeah, so like I'm kind of surprised that they're moving towards the PC.
Well, if you, like I said, like if you pay attention to the way kids are looking at things, they look at their favorite streamers, and their favorite streamers play primarily on PCs. They got the nice flashy lights, they got the whole room set up and all that stuff. You see a PlayStation 5 and you see an Xbox sitting in the corner, but that's not what they're playing on. Usually they're playing on gaming PCs, and a lot of kids want those now because um they streamers have now become the new celebrity.
Yep.
And kids are influenced by that kind of thing. They're like, well, I want to be like that. I want what my celebrity has. So a lot of the games that get very, very popular nowadays are games that are played primarily on PC, the weird, scary games that you can play with your friends or make content out of. But that's also another thing that I think why I also kind of I'm gonna say that I'm alongside where I think it's kind of going down. Um, game sales are kind of going down, and that's because a lot of kids don't buy games to really play them now. They just buy them to make content.
Interesting. I yeah, I guess I'm new to that mindset. Like give me an example of like playing a game versus making content.
So,
Like they're
so,
just streaming it. They're not really playing it to get
so,
through it or
so if you really, I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but I've seen multiple like young kids. Well, I wouldn't say young kids. I think some adults do it too. They don't play a game because they're interested in playing the game. They're interested in playing the game because they know it's a popular game that everyone else is interested in. Does that make sense?
okay. So
You
it's
know,
just, you know,
so like I think so when you hear like Fortnite, you know, like there's a lot of people that play Fortnite, but then there's like the large group of people that's like, I hate this game, but it brings people to my stream. You know, when I play it, you know, I get numbers. So you have like this influx of people playing video games just because it brings more subscribers, it brings more, what I don't know what they're called, partners or whatever. I, I don't use I don't use Twitch at all. I tried and I just I can't get into it. It's just too much. It feels like I'm using cable, but for watching other people do things that I much rather do.
yeah, I mean I've watched Twitch here or there, but and this is where you know, for the folks listening, if you haven't figured out that we're a little bit older, this next comment of mine will elucidate that for you. But
Our age is about to show.
yes, I mean, like I thought Twitch when it kind of first came out was interesting, and I will click around on it from time to time. But after a while, like, and a while, I'm not talking about a long time. Like after about a minute watching some of these people, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to listen to this anymore. Like, I would just show me a gameplay video. Like, I'm very much more of the YouTube person,
Mm.
and I don't understand how you could sit there and watch these people for hours and hours and hours. Um, and then of course having tried to like stream myself on Twitch and it was just like me talking to nobody for an hour, I was like, okay, this platform's not for me. But I mean, I guess are you saying that, you know, there are certain games that allow the streamer to emote in a certain way and react in a certain way that maintains an audience better than other games? And
No,
so that's the games that they'll be playing?
I think it's more along the lines that if I had to put it in any way that I can sort of make it make sense, um, uh, here I'll do this. Who is and who is your favorite movie star back in the '90s?
Wow. You know, I was never a movie guy. I very rarely went to the movies, but I'll just say Salma Hayek because she was the one I was most
Okay,
attracted to.
now picture if Salma Hayek was running a stream where she played nothing but mahjong games.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So it's they're the new age celebrity. So a lot
Now,
of kids
now
would much
just
rather watch their celebrity play the video games that they like.
interesting. Getting back to the Salma Hayek stream, would she be wearing only the snake?
Only
Because
well, I don't know. She might get banned for that actually.
oh, okay. What? Then I'm not watching. Okay, you know.
But yeah, for me, I'm in the camp of I think that games are definitely in a decrease because kids are they much rather watch other people play video games.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I mean, I can see it. I mean, you know, in a way, I feel like the games are probably trying to cannibalize each other as well. Like,
Yes.
s-
Yes.
so, you know, okay, if this one, you know, might be popular with streamers, but maybe that's because, you know, they have the best publicists and advertisers and they get those streamers on board and that there may not be Like gaming will still be incredibly profitable, but the profits will just accrue to two or three companies, two or three games.
Yeah. And you know what else? It also might be that a lot of the kids are just tired of being screwed over. So they much rather watch their streamer pay for that game and just watch them play it. It saves them money.
Yeah, well, I mean that is true. I mean the predatory practices. I mean, I was just reading before we came on the air that my favorite series, Yakuza, is doing something like they're coming out with the second in their like RPG spin-off series. It's called Infinite Wealth,
Hmm.
and anytime you'd finish a Yakuza game, you would open up like a new game plus mode where you could kind of go back and just play the different mini games and try to finish any missions that you may have missed. Well, they're charging you for that now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you have to get like there's two like special editions and you have to buy one or both to kind of like unlock the full new game plus mode.
How'd you feel when you heard about that?
I was like, I'm just sad that it hit my favorite series.
Yeah.
That having been said, I rarely use the new game plus mode because I'm and I play these games pretty thoroughly, but if I finish it at like a 96% completion, where like I'm not going to go back and run every pocket circuit car race. I'm not going to go and try to get the high score in every single mini game. Like that's not me. I just don't have the time to do that these days.
Yeah.
But, like what else are they going to lock away next time? So I could see people getting, pissed off with these predatory practices.
Yeah.
That is definitely true. But on the flip side, I'm gonna throw this one at you. I still think that video games have become sufficiently mainstream enough where certain events, much like Hollywood movies, like certain releases will still be able to generate a ton of popular interest and a ton of money. And the one that I'm thinking of is the next Grand Theft Auto game.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Like I could see people who have checked out, like
But
I don't have time for this, but when that thing comes out, they're going to buy a PlayStation 5 and play that
definitely,
game.
definitely. But now let's also calculate how much of those people are only buying it to stream it.
Well,
'Cause
see, I think it's
I'm-
going to go beyond that. Like I think you're going to have like the dads who, maybe they got
yeah,
a
yeah, you do.
10-year-old kid now and
That's right. You
like
do have those. I forget about those. Yeah. Yeah, you got me there.
yeah, I mean, and it's not enough necessarily to sustain an industry because they're only going to buy that game, play that game, and then when, little Sally needs braces and it's okay, well, can't game anymore.
Can game, yeah.
I got to go out and get that second job. So, uh, but I think overall, I mean, I'm inclined to buy some of what you're saying here, and it's just like, I think the rabid pace that say our generation and people who are slightly older, slightly younger, like that consumption pattern will probably change. And I think that leads us into one of the other points on here is like the subscription services. Like you quoted the Ubisoft thing, right? They
Mhm. Yeah.
said that people just have to get used to not owning their physical media,
Yep.
like not owning their games. And I could definitely see like I don't think Game Pass or the Sony version, I don't think they've hit like a critical mass at this point like Netflix. I don't think the gaming audience is there yet, but I do see people like, all right, I'm not going to buy games. I'll pay for the, Game Pass Ultimate $20 a month or whatever it is, and that's how I'll get my games.
I will say this though. I think it's gonna go in the lines of, and I think I said this before in our last videos, is that I think video games are gonna travel down the same road that comic books and trading cards kind of did. I feel like I feel like video games are kind of like, well, certain consoles. I feel like certain consoles are kind of like that time when everyone didn't care about video games, physical video games like that. They're not going to care until digital takes over, it disappears, and then someone is reminded about I don't know what's a popular Switch game that everyone loves right now. Let's say that Mario Wonder game. So apparently
Yeah.
that game is very very good. But I was reading some sale numbers. It didn't sell very well. And I think that a lot of people probably bought that game digitally. And I'm gonna bank on it. I'm gonna give it, what year is it? We're in 22. It came out 2023. I'm gonna
Yeah, just
say
a couple
this.
months ago.
I'm gonna say 20 because it takes about what like the nostalgia factor kicks in what age 30 they say. So
I think it's before that, but
I think it's before that, like 28, 27.
something like that, yeah.
Okay, so let's see, 2023. I'm gonna say this 2033, 32, maybe. That game is going to be very hard to find because a lot of people probably didn't buy it. A lot of people are probably going to throw it away. The only people who are going to have that game are the collectors who bought it originally. And I think by then, I, I think physical games are going to be harder to get because by that time, you're going to have a lot of the kids who kind of grew up looking at these games and they've jumped to PC. They're going to look back on the things that they remember seeing other people use on YouTube, like
Hmm.
because I know the same thing happened to me, the same thing happened to a couple of my friends, where just the wave of nostalgia just came over. They just had to buy all their stuff again, and it's like it's been 15 years. What do you care? He's like, I gotta have it, you know. And I think that might actually happen again with Switch, because Switch is such a huge collection of video games. And I think it's going to be like the modern day Super Nintendo, where everybody's going to want Super Nintendo games and all that. That was what, 2013 though. Like everyone was like, I want the Super Nintendo games.
Yeah, I mean, I can, I think that is kind of like a constant, that nostalgia cycle, and then ultimately how that is amplified by social media. So I don't I think there will always be like a market that's interested in some aspects of physical media, but I take a more kind of like dystopian view
Oh
in the sense that, like, I think the subscription services are ultimately coming.
yeah,
Y
that's
you
for
know,
sure.
and one of the things that one of the articles pointed out was, Amazon and Apple and Google, they really haven't gotten into gaming in, like, a head-on way. Like,
Mhm.
they've dabbled in it, they've had their different gaming products, but, let's say Apple wants to, you know, get some market share, some serious market share in gaming. If they had a streaming subscription service for video games, they said all you need is a $150 Apple TV and you buy our super high-end controller and you're not going to be playing like crappy App Store arcade games. We're going to, you want to play the next Call of Duty and FIFA, it's exclusive to Apple.
Oh wow, yeah.
And they start buying up like back catalogs. And they go after it by saying the day of the console is gone. You don't have to pay, these crazy prices. You have to pay $500 for a console. You have to pay $1,500 for a gaming PC. We're gonna let you. we're gonna monetize like, hey, you want the gaming PC experience? They'll do what Nvidia did, but on a bigger scale. And it's like, oh, you can rent out, with our premium plan, you can get a GTX 40 or RTX 4090 level of graphics, and it'll be seamless, and you'll just, click and you're into the game.
Yeah, I can see
Uh,
that.
and when they start doing that, like, I think there will be this kind of competition that we see for IP and like movies and television shows, and it's Apple's going to be like, you know what, Sega, we want your whole back catalog. Great, it's on our service. And then Amazon, with their competing service, is going to say, oh, interesting. Well, I don't know. I was going to say Atlas, but that's part of Sega. I don't
I,
know. NIS America. You know, we want everything, all of your intellectual property. And then if you want to play a game, you're going to have to say, wait, what service do I have to subscribe to? What
Mhm.
level, what tier do I have to go to? So I actually think in that environment, owning the physical media, it's like, no, I want to play this Sega game and I don't need this tier of subscription. I can just plug it into my local console that I've maintained and I'll play it.
Yeah,
Uh, um, so that to me, like, gets around the corporate dystopianism that we're descending into with a lot of these entertainment services. And
yeah,
I think that's going to be valuable to people. To say nothing of, like, true doom and gloom. It's like, well, if the internet goes out in our dystopian world, you can plug in your Super Nintendo and still play it on your local television. Like,
yeah, yeah.
I hope it doesn't get that dire, but I do think the autonomy and the freedom that you have by having physical media at home will be a luxury that some people will still value.
Agreed. Very much agreed. I mean, you even have some people on Instagram making short videos about it. Like they're tired of streaming services, so they've actually searched around for DVD players, to buy on Amazon, and people have gone back to they're jumping back to watching movies on DVDs just because it saves money and they can watch what they want to watch whenever they want. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
only a matter of time, but everyone has to I I think we have to jump that fence so everyone feels the fire first and go, "Oh, no, I don't want this anymore."
Well, and it's funny. Feels the fire is kind of an apt description, because one of the other aspects that we don't talk about with all the streaming stuff is the the toll it takes on the environment. I didn't realize this, but I was reading a couple articles about it. I mean, how much energy it takes to stream this stuff,
Yeah. Yeah, I did hear
and
about
the CO2 output, and it's like absolutely incredible. And then when you talk about, like, when they get game streaming right, how much bandwidth and data that's going to take, and that they're going to try it. So there might come a point where, I don't know, if we're talking dystopian future, like, maybe you can only stream like X amount of data per day for entertainment purposes.
that. That'd
And
be
then,
crazy.
just to save the environment. And then, like, once you hit your limit, what do you do? Well, I think in that case, you're going to go into into the shelf and pull out the game and play it locally and save the world. So there's could be that element as
we
well.
we promise, folks, this is a friendly podcast where we talk about happy things.